Hey everyone, my name is Spin, and today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite maps right now in Valorant, and that is Split. Now, Split is really interesting because Split is a map of consequences. There are three main bottlenecks in the entire map, and if attackers break through any of those bottlenecks, they have a lot of access to the map. You've got two very different sites. You've got the A site, which is actually pretty much wide open and there isn't much cover. And you've got the B site, which is actually relatively congested with lots of angles that the defenders can hold. You've also got the middle bottleneck, which is critical, but if the attackers take it, they can set the tempo for the rest of the round. I've put time codes in the description below, so if you want to fast forward to any specific part, you can do so. Also, guys, if you want to see content just like this, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. All right, let's get right into it. All right, let's start with the defender side on B. So with the defender side, I actually prefer just to have one player anchor it, and I actually like to have two players hold the middle area over there. The reason why I only put one player on B is because the middle players can actually rotate over to Heaven and B and support you in just about 4 seconds. It's a really fast rotate. But that means that as the B anchor, you have to be super careful not to just give the site over. You want to be really cautious and make sure that you're not, over peaking or putting yourself in a dangerous situation where you could just lose the site altogether. So my biggest recommendation for B anchor is if you need help, ask for it as soon as you need it. Ask for the mid players to come help you because they can rotate super fast. All right, let's start with all the different angles that you can hold. This is an angle that you can hold right here. It's a really interesting angle, but the problem is that if the whole enemy team peeks out right here, you might be able to get a quick pick, but if they see you here, they will lock you down. And don't forget, this entire area right here is all wall bangable. So if you don't have a safe way of getting from here to here, maybe you have a character ability like, I don't know, Omen, who can just teleport from here to there safely. But if you have an ability like that, you'll probably have to stand and fight here, and they will probably be able to kill you. So just keep that in mind. This is my preferred angle that I like to hold. I like to hold this right here and just peek out just every once in a while, try to get some information and see if I should get a rotate over. Like if I see one, I might duel that person, but I'll probably just, anchor even harder, or, right now I'm Viper, I'll toss that over and pop that out and just try to utilize that there. Another option is you can actually also hold this angle right here. It's not commonly held, so I think you might find some success here. Again, if you're an attacker and you're peeking this, you're probably going to be looking Heaven, so it's going to be a bit of a flick to go for you, and you might have an advantage. Another angle to hold is this right here. Again, when they peek out here, they'll probably be looking towards Heaven, and so they'll have to do a little bit of a flick to get to you. One of my favorite angles is actually this right here. It's a great off angle. They will probably not look in your direction. They'll probably be focusing, they'll probably have cleared out Heaven. So when they cross over, they won't really be looking your direction. So you'll be able to get a pick or two as they cross over from here to here. So keep that in mind. It's a pretty complicated site we have on B. There's a lot of different angles to hide. I mean, I've even been overwhelmed before, and as my rotates are coming in, let's say the enemy team is just rushing and they're getting the plan off. My teammates are rotating in as fast as they can, but it's not fast enough. Sometimes I've literally hidden here, and when I hear the plant going down, I'll pop out, maybe secure a kill on a player who's watching his teammate plant, and I'll even rotate around and kill the plant. By the way, this is usually the default plant here, and you can usually expect an attacker to be hiding here or somewhere around this area, watching the plant or listening for the defuse. So if you do go for the defuse, you have some players left alive. If you want to fake it out, see if anyone pops around this corner right here. Okay, attack on B. Attack on B is tricky because you have a bottleneck area that you have to get through if you want to survive and get on the B site. Obviously, if you play quickly, the defending team should not have an opportunity to get to this spot, but obviously clear it out just in case, because I've seen some tricky plays where maybe you'll have a Phoenix who will set up a wall right here and he'll sneak and walk by and be over here. I've seen players catch out like an entire enemy team, so just be mindful of that. So as you peek out, you want to use your abilities, whatever you have, to try to kill that initial anchor player. And obviously when you peek out here, watch this angle right here, watch that in Heaven right there, and there. Obviously, I'm forgetting about probably one of the most important spots, which is here and here. If you have an enemy player here or here, it's actually a really good thing because you should be able to get a free pick on them because they'll have absolutely nowhere to go. Pretty standard approach. So if I'm Viper, I'm going to want to block off Heaven so that we can get on the site as easy as possible. So this is pretty standard for Viper, something like this. And you should be able to get onto the site without any problems. Obviously, you want to make sure that this whole area is clear, and then now you pretty much have site control. And you can also back off here and look for a quick pick onto Heaven. Maybe you might see a head or two.
Toxin screen down.
And so from that point, you should be able to get a free plant off, and then you're just defending. Obviously, you're going to have 1 or 2 rotates coming in from Heaven, and you're probably going to have a rotate. If the enemy team is smart, they should be rotating through CT. So you might want to send a player ahead here to catch a player out. I've definitely caught a lot of players out. If you're fast enough rotating through CT, I've been here. But just keep in mind that the defenders have very strong rotates through their spawn this game. So they can either choose to go Heaven or directly onto site. So you have a few angles that you're going to have to watch. And if you're playing B, the other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need to send some players through middle. So if you're sending players through middle, they're obviously going to want to go into the mail room over here and contest the Heaven area, which there will definitely be some players in. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is I see a lot of players coming in from mid here, and they immediately rotate and they try to see what's going on the site, and they say, oh, my teammates are there, great. And they don't look here because this is where your enemies are going to come from, or here obviously, but you were just in middle, so you might have a better idea of what's going on in the middle area. But you got to check this, guys. This is critical. The defenders have such strong rotatability this game, so just keep that in mind. All right, so speaking of middle, let's talk about defenders. And the main thing about middle that you have to know as defenders is you have to hold the middle at all costs. If that means you're a really strong duelist and you just want to peek and grab kills, fine, go for it. But if you lose middle, you're giving the attacking team a massive advantage. So if your strategy is to just, pop out as much delay as possible and keep them off the middle, then I say go for it. You just got to do whatever you can to delay and not give them middle control. I see a lot of players playing inside this, what's this room called again?
Toxin screen down.
I see a lot of players playing inside vent. A lot of players are playing inside the mail room over here. Sometimes they peek it, sometimes they don't, but just mess with your enemies as much as possible. Peek it out of nowhere. Don't start here, or at least I wouldn't start here. But just peek it once, let them know that you're there. Let them know that they're going to have to contest you if they want to take middle control, but then maybe don't peek for a while. Just do whatever you can to keep them at bay. A great little economy thing that I like to do is I like to hold the shotgun right here if it's an eco round and our team is not buying or our team is trying to save money. This is a great area to hold. You're going to want to left click when they're here, and you can even pop out right here and right click this corner and usually grab a free kill. I've certainly done it before against players with full armor, but you're going to have to right click and you're going to have to be pretty accurate. That's a pretty decent spread. So if you get it on somebody's head, you're really going to mess them up. Look at that spread. So this Bucky is quite dangerous right here. But again, if they come too close, if they get on the stairs, don't right click. You're going to want to left click. If you right click, you're going to end up with that, which is not going to do any damage. You're going to be in deep trouble if you hit that. All right, so attacker as mid. Obviously, I just said that you don't want to lose middle as the defender. So as attacker, it's pretty critical that you at least contest mid and keep the enemy players on middle. So you're going to want to use all of your abilities and utilize as much as possible to take control of middle here. I see a lot of players who are actually utilizing this ultimate orb to bait enemy players out. I've seen that work, but you're going to need to have another player contesting that with you so that player can cover your back while you grab that orb. Or you can obviously grab the orb, walk away, and wait for the person to come out. Another thing I really recommend is you should really send two players to play mid. And what me and my buddy like to do a lot is we like to play one here in this room and one coming from sewers. That way you can both peek out here and safely. He's going to peek the mail room. I'm going to peek the ventilation room right here, and we're going to be able to contest. So if he says, hey, I got a player in mail room, and I know that, okay, that doesn't seem like there's anybody in vent right here, I'm going to rotate over to him and make sure I cover him just in case the enemy kills him. I'm going to be able to trade him out almost instantly. The most important thing is if you capture middle here, you set the tempo for the entire match. You can rotate onto B almost instantly and safely, assuming that you can clear out Heaven, or you can make the more risky move and try to rotate onto A. I say risky because you've got these, rope things that you have to navigate. If you come down this, you should be fine. But let's say the enemy team gets word of you being in this, little area over here. They could easily drop a Molotov down here and you'll be in deep trouble. It's a really easy area to deny because it's so compact and you've got these ropes over here. But just keep in mind that you still have really good accuracy when you're on the ropes. It's not like Counter-Strike where if you're on the ladder, you have zero accuracy. So you can really pop up this rope and be decently accurate. I don't think it's the same. It's not quite the same accuracy, but don't be afraid to fire when you're on these ropes. Okay, so for the A site, there are basically two ways to play it. You can play super aggressive and contest these corners right here, playing maybe one player here or here, and another player on ramp, which is very common. So if you're the ramp player, obviously this is going to be your angle right here. Some players like to play an off angle, which I like a lot. I like to play this here because as enemy players are rotating across over here, they're going to be keeping their eyes right here. So sometimes you do want to be there and contest it, but other times you want to mess with them and hold an off angle right here. You're definitely going to want to have a duelist character who can stun an enemy if you decide to play right here. So I don't know if Viper would be the best option for that, but somebody like Phoenix would be great. This is also a really great situation if you're on an eco round. You can easily peek out and maybe secure a quick kill with the Bucky, but I wouldn't personally recommend peeking out. I would just wait until they peek the corner themselves and give them a nasty little surprise. But just keep in mind, if you right click, you're going to want to have a little bit of distance. And also keep in mind, if you miss your shot and you get punished, you're going to hand them the A site right over here. Which leads me into the second part, which is playing defensive, which I highly recommend. Obviously, you're going to want to have a little bit of a better gun if you do that. But you've got these angles right here, which can help you. You can just directly contest right here, or you can play a slightly off angle right here, which I really like to do. You've also got this. You've also got this. And you also have the heaven area, which is decent, but keep in mind they will be looking that way. And if you lose ramp, you're going to have to be contesting not just this, but this as well. And hopefully you won't lose mid. You'll have to be contesting all these three areas. Whereas if you're down here and you're hard anchoring, you're worrying about one thing, and that's going to be this A area. The other reason why I really like anchoring on A site is because it's so easy to punish the enemy push. Because you have this massive open area in the middle here. There's absolutely no cover in the middle here. So if you hold an off angle like right here, you'll be able to easily punish out the enemy team as they try to get onto A site, and they won't have anywhere to go. Another thing I want you to keep in mind is that you can hide behind this. I see a lot of players hiding behind this, but if the enemy team thinks you're behind there, or if they see you and then you run behind it, keep in mind this sign can be wall banged by any weapon in the game. Even the pistol, it can wall bang it. So I've been wall banged here quite a few times. I've been wall banged when they see me run behind it. I've been wall banged when they never even saw me to begin with. They just decided to light it up and got a lucky headshot right through it. So that can be pretty frustrating, but just keep in mind. Okay, so as attackers, when you're playing this site, obviously you're going to want to first peek this right here, and then you're going to want to peek the ramp. You're going to probably have another player on the ramp. If the enemy team is doing really well in terms of economy, it's pretty likely, or it's reasonable to suspect that they might have an opper right here. So you might want to counter op or utilize some kind of ability to block this off, or even pre-fire. Now, one of the biggest issues is I see a lot of players, they all just run for the ramp. I've seen 4 players go for the ramp here because they like this fighting area here, and I like it too. It's a nice area to fight. People are afraid to run out in the open, which I understand because getting caught out here is not fun, and you also have to worry about heaven. What would you rather do, fight heaven or be super sneaky and backdoor heaven? But you're going to have to send, in my opinion, you should really be sending the majority of your players directly onto the A site, because if you do get a pick, you should only reasonably expect one other player to be on the site, and you should be able to overwhelm that player and get the plant off. The problem is if you have defenders rotating over after the A call has been made, if they get from B to here in the screen room in time, they will massively mess up your day. So you have to get onto A site relatively quickly and get the plant off, or you will be completely caught out. This A site really punishes the slow A push unless your team is just dominating and winning, gunfights left and right. And the cool thing is once you get the plant on the A site, usually here or here, I've seen it sometimes there, it's relatively easy to hold because the defenders, it was easy for the defenders to hold. So I like to personally run into here and hold not just at this angle here because you should expect a player to come from your spawn, but I also like to hold this here. And sometimes I'll even peek out here if we're, being really aggressive. I'll peek out here and I might even catch an enemy player rotating with their knife out right here as they're rotating from middle, a safe rotate from middle or from B. Okay, the last two areas to talk about are the spawns. The defender spawn in this game is extremely strong, and the reason is because this kind of long haul that runs along the defender's spawn basically gives them access to everything they need. It gives them access to the heaven area of both sites, and it gives them direct access to both sites as well, favoring B. Now, if we run over here to B, you'll see obviously that defender spawn runs directly onto B site, in which they can directly contest. Whereas if we run all the way to A, it kind of gives them access, but the access that it gives them is a little bit more dangerous, especially if defenders are trying to retake. Because if I peek out here, this is basically what I would consider to be direct access to the site, but I can't really get direct access until I have to challenge this long area here, maybe challenge an enemy at this box, and also challenge Mirage, then I can get access to the site. Whereas on B, you just have direct access. You don't really need to challenge anything to get access to the site. Now, the attacker spawn is really smart too, because the attacker spawn is massive. If you're a defender and a plant comes in and you're rotating to the other site, I really don't recommend rotating through the attacker spawn because one, you could get punished out of your mind because if an enemy player just is waiting for you and just peeks out, you probably should have your knife out because you're running for your life and it's like a 45-second rotate. But again, the enemy player will just catch you out and probably get a quick headshot onto you. And like I was saying before, it's a long rotate. This is a long rotate, even with your knife out, even if you're running just furiously, which is dangerous because one, the enemies will probably hear you, and two, they'll probably expect you if you take a while to show up. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching this map guide for Split. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and like and subscribe to see more content just like this. Peace and love, everybody.